Picture this. You're standing at the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza, craning your neck to see its apex disappearing into the Egyptian sky. This monument, built over 4,500 years ago, towers 481 feet above you, taller than a 40-story skyscraper. Each of its massive limestone blocks weighs between 2.5 and 15 tons, and there are over 2.3 million of them, fitted together with such precision that you can't slip a knife blade between the joints. How is this possible? How did ancient people, working without modern machinery, without steel tools, without even the wheel for transportation, create something so massive, so precise, so enduring that it remains one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the only one still standing? For centuries, this question has haunted historians, archaeologists, and anyone who has ever gazed upon these magnificent structures. The pyramids have inspired countless theories, from the plausible to the fantastical. Some claim they were built by aliens. Others insist they were constructed using lost ancient technologies. Still others believe they were created by a race of giants or through supernatural powers. But what if I told you that the truth is far more extraordinary than any of these wild theories? What if the real story of how the pyramids were built reveals something profound about human ingenuity, determination, and the incredible things we can achieve when we work together toward a common goal? Tonight, we're going to uncover the truth behind one of history's greatest mysteries. We'll journey back 4,500 years to ancient Egypt, to a time when the Nile was the highway of civilization and pharaohs were considered living gods. We'll meet the brilliant architects who designed these monuments, the skilled craftsmen who shaped every stone, and the thousands of workers who labored for decades to make the impossible possible. We'll explore the cutting-edge archaeological discoveries that have revolutionized our understanding of pyramid construction. We'll examine the tools and techniques that made these marvels possible. We'll uncover the sophisticated logistics that fed, housed, and organized one of the largest construction projects in human history. And we'll reveal how recent discoveries have finally solved mysteries that have puzzled humanity for millennia. This isn't just a story about ancient construction techniques. It's a story about human ambition, innovation, and the power of organized effort. It's about how our ancestors, working with nothing but stone tools, wooden levers, and human muscle, created monuments that continue to inspire awe and wonder thousands of years later. The truth about pyramid construction is more fascinating than any alien theory, more impressive than any supernatural explanation, and more inspiring than any tale of lost technology. It's a testament to what human beings can accomplish when they combine intelligence, determination, and collective effort in pursuit of something greater than themselves. So prepare to have your assumptions challenged and your imagination ignited as we uncover the real secrets of the pyramid builders' secrets that reveal not just how these monuments were built, but why they represent one of humanity's greatest achievements. To understand how the pyramids were built, we must first understand why they were built. The story begins not with construction techniques or engineering marvels, but with a revolutionary idea that would transform ancient Egypt and create one of history's most enduring legacies. It begins with a pharaoh's desperate desire to achieve immortality. In the early years of the Old Kingdom, around 2686 BCE, Egypt was emerging as one of the world's first great civilizations. The pharaohs had unified the lands along the Nile, creating a kingdom that stretched from the Mediterranean Sea to the first cataract at Aswan. But with great power came great anxiety. How could these god kings ensure that their reign would continue beyond death? The ancient Egyptians believed that death was not an ending, but a transformation. The pharaoh, who was considered the living embodiment of the god Horus, would become Osiris in death, ruling over the afterlife just as he had ruled over Egypt in life. But this transformation required careful preparation. The pharaoh's body had to be preserved, his tomb had to be protected, and his journey to the afterlife had to be facilitated through elaborate rituals and magical texts. For the earliest pharaohs, Simple mastaba tombs, rectangular structures with sloping sides, had been sufficient. But as the power and prestige of the pharaohs grew, so did their ambitions for the afterlife. They began to envision tombs that would not just protect their bodies, but would serve as eternal palaces, monuments that would proclaim their divine status for all eternity. The breakthrough came during the reign of Pharaoh Djoser, around 2670 BCE. Djoser's brilliant architect, Imhotep, conceived of something unprecedented. A tomb that would reach toward the heavens themselves. A structure so massive and impressive that it would be visible from miles away, proclaiming the pharaoh's power to all who saw it. Imhotep's design was revolutionary. Instead of a single mastaba, he envisioned 6 mastabas stacked on top of each other, each smaller than the one below, creating a stepped pyramid that rose 204 feet into the sky. This stepped pyramid at Saqqara became the world's first monumental stone building, and it changed everything. The stepped pyramid was more than just a tomb, it was a statement. It announced to the world that Egypt had the resources, the organization, and the technical skill to create something that had never been attempted before. It demonstrated that the pharaoh commanded not just armies and treasuries, but the very forces of nature itself. Most importantly, it proved that human beings could create structures that rivaled the mountains in their permanence and grandeur. But Imhotep's innovation was just the beginning. Subsequent pharaohs, inspired by Djoser's achievement, began to envision even grander monuments. They wanted pyramids that were not just tall but perfect, structures that embodied the mathematical and geometric principles that the Egyptians believed governed the universe itself. The transition from stepped to smooth-sided pyramids represented a quantum leap in architectural ambition. The smooth pyramid was not just larger than its stepped predecessors, it was conceptually different. Where the stepped pyramid was essentially a stack of mastabas, the true pyramid was a single unified structure, its 4 triangular faces rising from a square base to meet at a perfect point. This geometric perfection was deeply meaningful to the ancient Egyptians. The pyramid shape was associated with the primordial mound from which the Egyptians believed the world had emerged. The 4 sides represented the 4 cardinal directions, while the apex pointed toward the imperishable stars where the pharaoh would spend eternity. The pyramid was, in essence, a machine for transformation, a device that would facilitate the pharaoh's journey from earthly king to divine ruler of the afterlife. The religious significance of the pyramids extended beyond their shape. Every aspect of their construction was imbued with sacred meaning. The orientation of the pyramids was precisely calculated to align with astronomical phenomena. The Great Pyramid, for example, is aligned to true north with an accuracy of just 3/60th of a degree. A precision that wouldn't be matched again until the age of modern surveying instruments. The internal chambers and passages of the pyramids were designed according to religious texts that described the pharaoh's journey through the afterlife. The ascending and descending passages represented the paths the pharaoh's soul would take as it traveled to join the gods. The burial chamber itself was positioned to align with specific stars that the Egyptians associated with the afterlife. But the pyramids were more than just religious monuments. They were also political statements of unprecedented boldness. Building a pyramid required mobilizing the entire resources of the Egyptian state. Thousands of workers had to be recruited, fed, and housed. Quarries had to be opened and transportation networks established. Entire industries had to be created to support the construction effort. The decision to build a pyramid was essentially a declaration that the pharaoh commanded such absolute power that he could dedicate the entire kingdom's resources to his personal monument. It was a demonstration of organizational capability that would have impressed and intimidated Egypt's neighbors. The message was clear. A civilization that could build such monuments was not to be trifled with. The pyramid-building pharaohs also understood the propaganda value of their monuments. Unlike other forms of royal display armies, palaces, treasures, pyramids were permanent. They would continue to proclaim the pharaoh's greatness long after his death, serving as eternal advertisements for the power and sophistication of Egyptian civilization. The competitive aspect of pyramid building cannot be overlooked. Each pharaoh wanted to surpass his predecessors, to build something bigger, better, and more impressive than what had come before. This royal rivalry drove continuous innovation in construction techniques, architectural design, and project management. Each new pyramid incorporated lessons learned from previous projects, pushing the boundaries of what was technically possible. The culmination of this competitive pyramid building was the Great Pyramid of Khufu at Giza, built around 2580 BCE. This monument represented the absolute peak of pyramid construction, a structure so perfectly designed and executed that it has never been surpassed. Standing 481 feet tall and containing over 2.3 million stone blocks, it was the tallest human-made structure in the world for over 3,800 years. But the Great Pyramid was more than just the biggest, it was also the most sophisticated. Its internal chamber system was far more complex than any previous pyramid, featuring multiple chambers, a grand gallery with a corbelled ceiling, and precision-cut granite elements that showcase the absolute pinnacle of ancient Egyptian stoneworking skills. The pharaohs who built the pyramids were not just constructing tombs, they were creating a new form of architecture, a new way of organizing society, and a new means of expressing royal power. They were pushing the boundaries of human achievement, proving that with sufficient vision, organization, and determination, seemingly impossible goals could be achieved. The pyramid building era lasted for over 1,000 years, but its greatest achievements were concentrated in a relatively brief period during the 4th dynasty, roughly 2613 to 2494 BCE. During this time, the pharaohs Sneferu, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure created the monuments that continue to amaze us today. Their vision and ambition set in motion one of the greatest construction projects in human history, a project that would require innovations in engineering, logistics, and human organization that wouldn't be matched for millennia. Understanding the motivations behind pyramid construction helps us appreciate the magnitude of what the ancient Egyptians achieved. These were not just buildings, they were manifestations of a civilization's highest aspirations, expressions of humanity's eternal desire to create something that will outlast our brief time on Earth. The pharaohs who commissioned these monuments were not just building tombs, they were building immortality itself. Behind every great pyramid stood a master builder, an architect-engineer, whose genius transformed the pharaoh's vision into stone reality. These were not just skilled craftsmen, but brilliant innovators who solved engineering problems that wouldn't be encountered again for thousands of years. Their names have largely been lost to history, but their achievements speak across the millennia, revealing minds capable of conceiving and executing projects of staggering complexity. The most famous of these master builders was Imhotep, architect of the Step Pyramid at Saqqara. Imhotep was more than just an architect. He was a polymath whose talents extended to medicine, astronomy, and literature. Later generations would deify him, recognizing that his innovations had fundamentally changed what human beings could achieve. But Imhotep was just the first in a line of brilliant architects who would push the boundaries of engineering ever further. The transition from Imhotep's stepped pyramid to the smooth-sided pyramids of the 4th dynasty required architects to solve entirely new problems. Creating a smooth-sided pyramid wasn't just a matter of filling in the steps. It required completely different structural principles, new construction techniques, and unprecedented precision in planning and execution. The architect of the first true pyramid, the Red Pyramid at Dashur, had to solve the fundamental problem of pyramid construction: how to build a structure that would be stable at such an enormous height. The solution required a deep understanding of structural engineering principles that wouldn't be formally codified until thousands of years later. The key insight was understanding the relationship between the pyramid's base, its height, and its angle of inclination. The architects discovered that a pyramid with sides inclined at approximately 43 degrees would be stable while still achieving impressive height. This angle, which produces a slope ratio of about 7:5, became the standard for most subsequent pyramids. But achieving this perfect angle required incredible precision in planning and construction. The architects had to calculate the exact dimensions of the base, determine the precise location of the apex, and ensure that every course of stones was laid with mathematical accuracy. A tiny error at the base would be magnified enormously by the time construction reached the pyramid's peak. The architects also had to solve the problem of internal structure. Unlike modern buildings, which use steel frameworks to support their weight, pyramids had to support themselves entirely through the careful arrangement of stone blocks. This required understanding principles of load distribution, structural stability, and material stress that were far ahead of their time. The internal chamber systems of the pyramids reveal the architects' sophisticated understanding of structural engineering. The burial chambers were positioned deep within the pyramid's mass, requiring the architects to create spaces that wouldn't collapse under the enormous weight of stone above them. They solved this problem through ingenious use of corbelling, relieving chambers, and carefully calculated weight distribution. The Great Pyramid's Grand Gallery is perhaps the finest example of this structural sophistication. This soaring corridor, with its corbelled ceiling rising 28 feet high, demonstrates a mastery of stone construction that wouldn't be seen again until the great Gothic cathedrals of medieval Europe. The precision with which the granite blocks are cut and fitted shows that the architects had access to tools and techniques of remarkable sophistication. The architects also had to solve unprecedented logistical problems. Building a pyramid required coordinating the work of thousands of people over periods of decades. Materials had to be quarried, transported, and positioned with clockwork precision. The architects had to create detailed plans that could guide construction crews through every phase of the project. Recent archaeological discoveries have revealed that the pyramid architects were far more sophisticated planners than previously imagined. Papyrus documents found at the Red Sea port of Wadi al-Jarf contain detailed records of pyramid construction logistics, including shipping schedules, crew assignments, and material deliveries. These documents reveal a level of organizational sophistication that rivals modern construction projects. The architects had to plan not just the pyramids themselves, but entire pyramid complexes. Each pyramid was surrounded by smaller pyramids for queens, mastaba tombs for nobles, mortuary temples, causeway roads, and valley temples. The entire complex had to be designed as a unified whole, with each element positioned to create a harmonious architectural ensemble. The precision with which these complexes were planned is extraordinary. The Great Pyramid Complex at Giza covers over 13 acres and includes 3 major pyramids, 6 smaller pyramids, the Great Sphinx, and numerous other structures. Every element is positioned according to a master plan that demonstrates the architects' ability to think on a massive scale while maintaining attention to the smallest details. The architects also had to innovate constantly to solve new problems as they arose. The Bent Pyramid at Dashur, built by Pharaoh Sneferu, shows evidence of mid-construction design changes. The pyramid's angle was reduced partway through construction, probably because the architects realized that the original angle would create structural instability. This ability to adapt and modify plans during construction shows remarkable flexibility and problem-solving skills. The tools available to these ancient architects were surprisingly sophisticated. They had copper and bronze instruments for measuring and marking, wooden squares and plumb lines for ensuring accuracy, and rope stretchers for laying out large-scale geometric patterns. Most importantly, they had developed mathematical techniques that allowed them to calculate complex geometric relationships with remarkable precision. The architects' understanding of mathematics was far more advanced than previously thought. Recent analysis of pyramid dimensions reveals that the builders understood principles of geometry, trigonometry, and even calculus-like concepts. The Great Pyramid's dimensions encode mathematical relationships, including pi and the golden ratio, suggesting that the architects were working with sophisticated mathematical principles. But perhaps the most impressive aspect of the pyramid architects' achievement was their ability to train and coordinate massive construction crews. Building a pyramid required not just a few skilled craftsmen, but thousands of workers, each performing specialized tasks that had to be coordinated with clockwork precision. The architects had to develop training programs, quality control systems, and management hierarchies that could maintain standards across decades of construction. The evidence suggests that the architects established specialized schools where construction techniques were taught and refined. Graffiti found inside pyramids includes marks left by work crews, revealing a sophisticated system of team organization and quality control. Each crew had its own identity and took pride in its work, competing with other crews to achieve the highest standards. The architects also had to solve the problem of maintaining accuracy over the enormous scale of pyramid construction. The Great Pyramid's base is square to within just 2 centimeters, an astonishing achievement given that each side is over 230 meters long. This required surveying techniques of incredible precision, using the stars for orientation and sophisticated measuring instruments for layout. The legacy of these master builders extends far beyond the pyramids themselves. Their innovations in structural engineering, project management, and precision construction established principles that continue to influence architecture and engineering today. They proved that human beings could conceive and execute projects of unprecedented scale and complexity, setting standards for ambition and achievement that continue to inspire us. The pyramid architects were more than just builders. They were visionaries who expanded the boundaries of human possibility. They took the pharaoh's dreams of immortality and made them real in stone, creating monuments that have outlasted empires and continue to amaze us with their perfection. Their genius lay not just in their technical skills, but in their ability to imagine and achieve the impossible, proving that with sufficient knowledge, planning, and determination, human beings can accomplish anything they set their minds to. For centuries, one of the most persistent myths about pyramid construction has been that these monuments were built by slaves, thousands of oppressed workers laboring under the whip of cruel taskmasters. This image, popularized by Hollywood movies and sensationalized documentaries, has shaped popular understanding of pyramid construction for generations. But recent archaeological discoveries have completely shattered this myth, revealing a far more fascinating and complex reality. The truth about who built the pyramids is more extraordinary than any fictional account. These monuments were constructed not by slaves, but by a sophisticated workforce of skilled craftsmen, seasonal laborers, and dedicated professionals who took enormous pride in their work. They were well-fed, well-housed, and well-organized, participating in what may have been the world's first large-scale public works project. The breakthrough in our understanding came from excavations led by Dr. Mark Lenner and Dr. Zahi Hawass in the 1990s and 2000s. Working in the area south of the Giza pyramids, they uncovered something unprecedented: the remains of a vast workers' city that housed the pyramid builders. This discovery revolutionized our understanding of pyramid construction and revealed the true nature of the workforce that created these monuments. The workers' city at Giza was a sophisticated urban center that could house up to 20,000 people. It included dormitories for workers, houses for supervisors, bakeries capable of feeding thousands, breweries for producing beer, a dietary staple in ancient Egypt, and even a medical facility for treating injured workers. The scale and organization of this settlement reveals that pyramid construction was a massive, well-planned operation that required unprecedented logistical coordination. Analysis of the workers' remains found in cemeteries near the pyramids has provided remarkable insights into who these people were. Contrary to the slave narrative, the evidence shows that pyramid workers were well nourished and received medical care when injured. Many skeletons show evidence of healed fractures that were properly set, indicating that injured workers received skilled medical treatment and were cared for during their recovery. The workers' diet was surprisingly rich and varied. Archaeological evidence shows they consumed large quantities of meat, including beef, sheep, and goat. They also ate fish, bread, vegetables, and garlic, a diet that was far superior to what most ancient people enjoyed. This high-quality nutrition was essential for the physically demanding work of pyramid construction and demonstrates that the builders were valued and well-cared-for employees, not expendable slaves. The workforce was organized into highly structured teams with clear hierarchies and specializations. Graffiti found inside the pyramids reveals the names of work crews with colorful titles like Friends of Khufu and Drunkards of Menkaure. These crew names suggest a sense of pride and camaraderie among the workers, who competed with each other to achieve the highest standards of workmanship. The core workforce consisted of skilled craftsmen who worked year-round on pyramid construction. These included stonecutters who quarried and shaped the massive blocks, masons who fitted them together with incredible precision, and carpenters who built the ramps and scaffolding needed for construction. These skilled workers were supplemented by seasonal laborers who came to work on the pyramids during the Nile flood season, when agricultural work was impossible. The seasonal nature of much pyramid work was crucial to its success. During the annual flood, when the Nile inundated the farmland, thousands of farmers found themselves temporarily unemployed. Rather than remaining idle, they could earn wages working on pyramid construction. This system provided the massive labor force needed for pyramid building, while ensuring that agricultural production wasn't disrupted. The logistics of managing such a large workforce were staggering. The workers had to be fed, housed, organized, and coordinated in their tasks. Recent calculations suggest that feeding the pyramid workforce required the daily slaughter of 21 cattle and 23 sheep, plus enormous quantities of bread, beer, and vegetables. This food had to be produced, transported, and distributed with military precision. The workers were organized into gangs of about 2,000 men, which were further divided into crews of 200. Each crew was subdivided into teams of 20 workers who specialized in specific tasks. This hierarchical organization allowed for efficient coordination of the massive workforce while maintaining quality control and accountability. The evidence suggests that working on pyramid construction was considered an honor rather than a burden. Many workers came from all over Egypt to participate in these projects, drawn by the opportunity to serve their god-king and participate in creating something eternal. The pyramids were national projects that united the entire kingdom in a common purpose. The skilled craftsmen who worked on the pyramids were highly respected professionals who passed their knowledge down through generations. Families of stoneworkers, carpenters, and other specialists often worked on multiple pyramid projects over several generations, accumulating expertise and refining techniques over time. This continuity of knowledge was crucial to the increasing sophistication of pyramid construction. The workers also included specialists whose skills were essential to pyramid construction, but are often overlooked. These included surveyors who laid out the pyramid's precise dimensions, astronomers who determined its orientation, and mathematicians who calculated the complex geometric relationships needed for construction. The pyramids required not just muscle power, but brain power of the highest order. Recent discoveries have also revealed the important role of women in pyramid construction. While they didn't perform the heavy physical labor of moving stones, women worked in the bakeries and breweries that fed the workforce, in the textile workshops that produced clothing and rope, and in medical facilities that cared for injured workers. The pyramid workforce was a complete community that included people of all ages and both sexes. The management of the pyramid workforce required innovations in organization and administration that were far ahead of their time. Papyrus documents from the Pyramid Age reveal sophisticated record-keeping systems that tracked worker assignments, material deliveries, and project progress. These administrative innovations were as important to pyramid construction as the engineering techniques. The workers' motivation came from multiple sources. Religious devotion played a major role. The workers believed they were participating in ensuring their pharaoh's successful transition to the afterlife, which would benefit all of Egypt. Economic incentives were also important, as pyramid work provided steady employment and good wages. But perhaps most importantly, the workers took pride in creating something magnificent that would last forever. The seasonal rhythm of pyramid construction created a unique social dynamic. During flood season, the workforce swelled to its maximum size as farmers joined the permanent crews. This created a mixing of urban and rural populations that facilitated cultural exchange and innovation. The pyramid sites became melting pots where people from all over Egypt shared knowledge and techniques. The decline of pyramid building in the later Old Kingdom wasn't due to a loss of technical knowledge, but to changing economic and political conditions. The enormous resources required for pyramid construction became increasingly difficult to sustain as Egypt faced internal conflicts and external pressures. The workforce that had created these monuments was gradually dispersed to other projects or returned to traditional occupations. The revelation that pyramids were built by free workers rather than slaves has profound implications for how we understand ancient Egyptian society. It shows that Egypt was capable of organizing and motivating massive voluntary efforts, that workers were valued and well treated, and that these monuments represented genuine collective achievements rather than the products of oppression. This discovery also changes how we think about human motivation and achievement. The pyramid builders weren't driven by fear or coercion, but by pride, religious devotion, and the desire to create something extraordinary. Their example shows that human beings are capable of remarkable achievements when they work together toward a common goal and are properly organized and motivated. The true story of the pyramid workforce is more inspiring than any myth about slaves or aliens. It reveals that these monuments were built by ordinary people who achieved extraordinary things through skill, dedication, and teamwork. They prove that the greatest human achievements come not from supernatural intervention or advanced technology, but from human intelligence, organization, and the determination to turn dreams into reality. When we think about building something as massive and precise as the Great Pyramid, our modern minds immediately turn to heavy machinery cranes, bulldozers, laser levels, and computer-controlled equipment. The idea that ancient people could create such monuments using only simple tools seems almost impossible. Yet the archaeological evidence reveals that the pyramid builders accomplished their miraculous feats using a toolkit that, while simple by our standards, was perfectly adapted to their needs and employed with extraordinary skill and ingenuity. The foundation of pyramid construction technology was stone, not just as a building material, but as the primary component of the tools themselves. The ancient Egyptians had not yet entered the Iron Age, so their cutting tools were made primarily of copper, with some bronze implements appearing later in the pyramid building period. But copper tools alone could never have shaped the millions of limestone blocks that make up the pyramids. The secret lay in combining these metal tools with an abrasive that was readily available throughout Egypt: sand. The basic technique for cutting stone involved using copper saws and chisels in combination with quartz sand as an abrasive. The copper tools didn't actually cut the stone instead. They held and directed the sand, which did the real cutting work. This technique, while labor-intensive, was remarkably effective. Experiments by modern archaeologists have shown that a team of workers using copper tools and sand could cut through limestone at a rate that would make pyramid construction feasible within the known time frames. For cutting the massive granite blocks used in the pyramid's internal chambers, the Egyptians developed even more sophisticated techniques. Granite is much harder than limestone and required different approaches. The builders used a combination of copper tools, sand abrasives, and a technique called fire setting, where they would heat the granite with fires and then rapidly cool it with water, causing the stone to crack along predetermined lines. The precision with which these tools were used is extraordinary. The granite blocks in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid are cut and fitted with tolerances measured in fractions of millimeters. The surfaces are so smooth and flat that they rival modern machine work. This level of precision required not just skilled tools, but master craftsmen who had spent decades perfecting their techniques. One of the most important tools in the pyramid builder's arsenal was the lever. These simple wooden devices, some as long as 8 feet, could multiply human strength enormously when used properly. Teams of workers could use levers to move blocks weighing several tons, positioning them with remarkable precision. The effective use of levers required deep understanding of mechanical principles and careful coordination among work crews. The Egyptians also developed sophisticated lifting techniques using ramps and pulleys. While no pyramid-era pulleys have been found, the evidence suggests that the Egyptians understood the principle of mechanical advantage and used various forms of rope and lever systems to lift heavy blocks. The exact design of these lifting systems remains one of the ongoing mysteries of pyramid construction. Measuring and surveying tools were crucial to achieving the geometric precision that characterizes the pyramids. The Egyptians used a variety of instruments, including the merkat, a sighting tool for astronomical observations, plumb lines for ensuring vertical alignment, and A-frames with plumb bobbs for checking level surfaces. They also used knotted ropes for measuring distances and laying out geometric patterns. The rope stretchers, or harpodonaptai, were specialists who used ropes with knots tied at specific intervals to lay out the complex geometric patterns needed for pyramid construction. These ropes allowed the builders to create perfect squares, right angles, and circles with remarkable accuracy. The Great Pyramid's base is square to within just 2 centimeters, an astonishing achievement using these simple tools. For moving the massive stone blocks from quarries to construction sites, the Egyptians developed an ingenious transportation system. They used wooden sledges that could carry blocks weighing up to 15 tons. These sledges were pulled by teams of workers using ropes, with the path lubricated using water or milk to reduce friction. Recent experiments have shown that this system was remarkably efficient, allowing relatively small teams to move enormous weights. The Egyptians also took advantage of the Nile River for transportation whenever possible. During the annual flood, when the river reached its highest levels, boats could navigate much closer to the pyramid sites than during the rest of the year. Special ships were built to carry the heaviest blocks, including the massive granite beams used in the pyramid's internal chambers. These blocks were quarried at Aswan, over 500 miles south of Giza, and transported north on the Nile during flood season. One of the most ingenious aspects of pyramid construction technology was the use of ramps. While the exact design of these ramps remains debated, the evidence suggests that the Egyptians used a combination of straight ramps, zigzag ramps, and spiral ramps to move blocks up the sides of the pyramids as construction progressed. These ramps had to be constantly modified and extended as the pyramid grew taller, requiring careful planning and engineering. Recent discoveries have revealed that the pyramid builders also used a sophisticated system of internal ramps within the pyramids themselves. These ramps, built into the structure of the pyramid, allowed workers to move blocks to the upper levels without having to build enormous external ramps that would have required as much material as the pyramids themselves. The tools for shaping and finishing stone blocks were remarkably sophisticated. The Egyptians used various types of chisels, including flat chisels for rough work and pointed chisels for detailed carving. They also employed pounding stones, carefully shaped granite or diorite tools, used to rough out the basic shape of blocks before final finishing with metal tools. For achieving the incredibly smooth surfaces found on many pyramid blocks, the Egyptians used rubbing stones and polishing compounds. The final finishing work on granite surfaces involved rubbing with progressively finer abrasives until mirror-like finishes were achieved. This process was extremely time-consuming, but produced results that remain impressive even by modern standards. The Egyptians also developed specialized tools for specific tasks. For cutting the precise angles needed for pyramid construction, they used bevel squares and angle templates. For creating the complex internal passages and chambers, they developed techniques for cutting curved surfaces and creating corbelled ceilings that distributed weight effectively. Water played a crucial role in pyramid construction technology, not just for transportation, but as a tool itself. The Egyptians used water levels, channels filled with water, to ensure that foundation courses were perfectly level across the enormous base of the pyramids. They also used water for cooling tools during intensive cutting work and for lubricating sledge paths during block transportation. The organization of tool production and maintenance was as important as the tools themselves. The pyramid sites included workshops where tools were manufactured, repaired, and sharpened. Copper tools required constant maintenance, as the relatively soft metal would wear down quickly during intensive use. The logistics of keeping thousands of workers supplied with sharp, effective tools was a major undertaking in itself. Perhaps most importantly, the pyramid builders developed techniques for quality control that ensured consistent results across the enormous scale of construction. They used standard units of measurement, template blocks for checking dimensions, and systematic inspection procedures that maintained accuracy throughout the construction process. The tools and techniques used in pyramid construction represent a remarkable achievement in ancient technology. While simple by modern standards, they were perfectly adapted to their purpose and used with extraordinary skill. The pyramid builders proved that sophisticated engineering doesn't always require complex machinery sometimes. The most elegant solutions are also the simplest. The legacy of pyramid construction technology extended far beyond the monuments themselves. The techniques developed for pyramid building influenced Egyptian architecture for thousands of years and contributed to advances in engineering, mathematics, and project management that would benefit civilization for millennia to come. Understanding the tools and techniques used in pyramid construction helps us appreciate the true magnitude of what the ancient Egyptians achieved. They didn't need alien technology or lost ancient sciences. They had something far more powerful: human ingenuity, skilled craftsmanship, and the determination to push the boundaries of what was possible with the tools at their disposal. The Great Pyramid of Giza contains approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing between 2.5 and 15 tons. If we imagine these blocks lined up end to end, they would stretch from New York to Los Angeles. The logistics of quarrying, transporting, and positioning this enormous quantity of stone represents one of the greatest organizational achievements in human history, a feat that required innovations in planning, coordination, and resource management that wouldn't be matched for thousands of years. To understand the magnitude of this logistical challenge, consider that building the Great Pyramid in its estimated 20-year construction period would have required setting one block in place every 2 to 3 minutes, working 10 hours a day, 365 days a year. This wasn't just a construction project. It was a precisely orchestrated industrial operation that had to function with clockwork efficiency for decades. The logistics began at the quarries, where the massive blocks had to be extracted from the living rock. The main limestone quarry for the Giza pyramids was located just south of the pyramid complex, providing convenient access to the primary building material. But the finest limestone for the pyramid's outer casing came from quarries across the Nile at Tura, while the granite for internal chambers was quarried at Aswan, over 500 miles to the south. The quarrying operation itself was a marvel of organization. Teams of workers had to be coordinated to extract blocks of specific sizes and shapes according to detailed plans. The quarrymen couldn't simply cut random blocks. Each stone had to meet precise specifications for its intended position in the pyramid. This required a sophisticated planning system that could coordinate quarrying operations with construction schedules months or even years in advance. The transportation of blocks from quarry to construction site required solving unprecedented logistical problems. For the local limestone blocks, the Egyptians built a network of ramps and roadways that allowed sledges to move directly from quarry to pyramid. These roads had to be constantly maintained and modified as quarrying operations expanded and construction progressed. For blocks coming from distant quarries, the Nile River became the highway of pyramid construction. The Egyptians developed specialized ships capable of carrying enormous stone blocks. These vessels had to be carefully designed to handle loads that would challenge even modern cargo ships. The timing of these shipments was crucial. They had to arrive during the annual flood season when the Nile reached its highest levels and boats could navigate closest to the construction sites. Recent archaeological discoveries have revealed the sophistication of this river transport system. Papyrus documents found at Wadi al-Jarf, an ancient port on the Red Sea, contain detailed records of shipping operations for pyramid construction. These documents, written by a team leader named Mirror, describe the transportation of limestone blocks from Tura to Giza, providing unprecedented insights into the logistics of pyramid construction. Mirror's papyrus reveals that the transport teams worked on carefully planned schedules, with specific crews assigned to specific routes and cargoes. The documents show that a single boat crew could transport 30 blocks in a single trip, making 2 round trips per month during the flood season. This level of detailed planning and record keeping demonstrates organizational sophistication that rivals modern logistics operations. The coordination of multiple quarrying and transport operations required a command and control system of remarkable complexity. Construction managers had to track the progress of dozens of quarrying teams, coordinate the schedules of transport crews, and ensure that the right blocks arrived at the construction site at precisely the right time. Any breakdown in this system could have brought the entire project to a halt. The storage and organization of blocks at the construction site presented its own challenges. With thousands of blocks arriving regularly, the builders had to develop systems for sorting, storing, and retrieving specific blocks as needed. Archaeological evidence suggests that blocks were organized in staging areas according to their intended use, with different areas for foundation blocks, core blocks, and casing stones. The lifting and positioning of blocks required coordinating the efforts of hundreds of workers. Recent experiments have shown that moving a 2.5-ton block up a ramp requires a team of about 20 workers. For the largest blocks, teams of 100 or more workers would have been needed. Coordinating these teams to work efficiently without interfering with each other required sophisticated scheduling and management systems. The construction of the ramps themselves was a major logistical undertaking. These ramps had to be constantly extended and modified as the pyramid grew taller, requiring enormous quantities of stone, sand, and mud brick. Some estimates suggest that the ramps for the Great Pyramid may have required as much material as the pyramid itself, making the ramp system essentially a second major construction project. The feeding and housing of the massive workforce presented logistical challenges that were as complex as the construction itself. Archaeological evidence from the workers' village at Giza shows that the pyramid builders developed sophisticated systems for food production and distribution. The site included large-scale bakeries capable of producing thousands of loaves of bread daily, breweries for beer production, and facilities for processing meat and other foods. The scale of food production required for pyramid construction was staggering. Feeding 20,000 workers required the daily slaughter of 21 cattle and 23 sheep, plus enormous quantities of bread, beer, fish, and vegetables. This food had to be produced, transported, and distributed with military precision. The logistics of feeding the workforce may have been as challenging as building the pyramid itself. Water supply was another critical logistical challenge. The pyramid sites were located on the desert plateau, far from the Nile River. The builders had to develop systems for transporting and storing the enormous quantities of water needed for construction, cooking, and drinking. Archaeological evidence suggests they built a network of channels and reservoirs to manage water distribution throughout the construction site. The coordination of specialized craftsmen required its own logistical systems. The pyramid builders included not just stone workers, but carpenters, metal workers, rope makers, and dozens of other specialists. Each group had its own tools, materials, and work schedules that had to be coordinated with the overall construction timeline. Managing these diverse groups required administrative skills that were far ahead of their time. The seasonal nature of much pyramid work added another layer of complexity to the logistics. During the Nile flood season, when agricultural work was impossible, the workforce swelled with farmers seeking temporary employment. This seasonal variation required flexible systems that could accommodate dramatic changes in workforce size while maintaining productivity and quality standards. Quality control across such a massive operation required systematic inspection and testing procedures. The builders had to ensure that blocks met dimensional specifications, that construction proceeded according to plan, and that structural integrity was maintained throughout the building process. This required a hierarchy of supervisors and inspectors who could maintain standards across thousands of workers and millions of stone blocks. The logistics of pyramid construction also required innovations in record keeping and communication. The papyrus documents from Wadi al-Jarf show that the Egyptians developed sophisticated systems for tracking materials, recording work assignments, and communicating between different parts of the operation. These administrative innovations were as important to pyramid construction as the engineering techniques. Perhaps most remarkably, the pyramid builders managed to maintain these complex logistical systems for decades without any apparent major breakdowns. The pyramids were completed on schedule and to specifications that remain impressive today. This consistency of performance over such long periods demonstrates organizational capabilities that wouldn't be seen again until the industrial age. The logistical achievements of pyramid construction had lasting impacts on Egyptian civilization. The systems developed for managing these massive projects influenced Egyptian administration for thousands of years. The techniques for organizing large workforces, coordinating complex operations, and maintaining quality control became part of Egypt's institutional knowledge, contributing to the kingdom's long-term stability and prosperity. Understanding the logistics of pyramid construction helps us appreciate that these monuments represent more than just architectural achievements. They demonstrate humanity's capacity for organization, planning, and cooperation on an unprecedented scale. The pyramid builders proved that with sufficient planning, coordination, and determination, human beings could accomplish seemingly impossible tasks through collective effort and intelligent organization. When we examine the Great Pyramid of Giza with modern surveying instruments, we discover something that seems almost impossible. This 4,500-year-old monument is more precisely constructed than most modern buildings. The base is level to within just 2.1 centimeters. The sides are oriented to the cardinal directions with an accuracy of 3/60th of a degree. The pyramid's dimensions encode mathematical relationships that wouldn't be formally discovered by Western mathematics for thousands of years. This precision wasn't accidental, it was the result of mathematical knowledge and surveying techniques that were far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. The mathematical mastery behind pyramid construction becomes apparent when we analyze the Great Pyramid's dimensions. The pyramid's base measures 230.4 meters on each side, and its original height was 146.5 meters. The ratio of the perimeter of the base to the height is remarkably close to 2 times pi, suggesting that the builders understood the mathematical relationship between a circle's circumference and its radius. This means they had discovered pi to an accuracy of 99.98%, an achievement that wouldn't be matched in Western mathematics until the time of Archimedes, over 2,000 years later. Even more remarkably, the Great Pyramid's dimensions also encode the golden ratio, phi equals 1.618 ... closing parenthesis, a mathematical constant that appears throughout nature and art. The ratio of the pyramid's slant height to half, its base length, equals the golden ratio with extraordinary precision. This suggests that the ancient Egyptian architects understood advanced mathematical concepts that modern mathematics considers fundamental to geometric harmony and natural proportion. But how did the ancient Egyptians achieve this mathematical precision using only the tools available to them? The answer lies in their sophisticated understanding of practical geometry and their development of surveying, techniques that were remarkably accurate. The Egyptians didn't need to understand pi as an abstract mathematical concept. They discovered its practical applications through their work with circles, ropes, and geometric construction. The foundation of Egyptian mathematical precision was the rope stretchers, art. These specialists used ropes with knots tied at specific intervals to create geometric shapes with remarkable accuracy. By using a rope with 12 equal segments, they could create a perfect right triangle with sides in the ratio 3 to 4 to 5, a relationship known today as the Pythagorean theorem, though the Egyptians were using it over 1,000 years before Pythagoras was born. The precision of pyramid construction required the Egyptians to solve complex, surveying problems that challenged the limits of ancient technology. To create a perfect square base covering over 13 acres, they had to establish accurate right angles and ensure that all sides were exactly equal in length. They accomplished this using a combination of astronomical observations, geometric principles, and ingenious measuring techniques. The orientation of the pyramids to the cardinal directions required astronomical knowledge of extraordinary sophistication. The Egyptians achieved this precision by observing the rising and setting points of specific stars, using techniques that required understanding the apparent motion of celestial bodies throughout the year. The accuracy they achieved within 3/60th of a degree demonstrates observational skills that wouldn't be surpassed until the development of modern astronomical instruments. The internal geometry of the pyramids reveals even more sophisticated mathematical knowledge. The angles of the ascending and descending passages are precisely calculated to align with specific astronomical phenomena. The Grand Gallery's corbelled ceiling demonstrates understanding of structural engineering principles that require advanced geometric calculations. Every dimension of the pyramid's internal chambers reflects careful mathematical planning. The Egyptians also developed techniques for maintaining accuracy across the enormous scale of pyramid construction. They used a system of proportional measurement that allowed them to scale up their geometric constructions from small models to the full-size monument. This required understanding mathematical principles of similarity and proportion that are fundamental to modern engineering. The precision of stone cutting and fitting required mathematical knowledge of angles, curves, and three-dimensional geometry. The granite blocks in the king's chamber are cut with tolerances measured in fractions of millimeters, requiring understanding of geometric principles that go far beyond simple arithmetic. The curved surfaces found in some pyramid chambers demonstrate knowledge of complex geometric relationships. Recent analysis of pyramid construction techniques has revealed that the Egyptians understood principles of calculus-like mathematics centuries before these concepts were formally developed. The calculation of pyramid volumes, the determination of optimal ramp angles, and the planning of construction sequences all required mathematical thinking that anticipated later mathematical discoveries. The Egyptians also developed sophisticated techniques for error correction and quality control that required statistical thinking. They understood that small errors in measurement could accumulate into large problems over the scale of pyramid construction, so they developed methods for checking and correcting their work that demonstrate remarkable mathematical insight. The mathematical knowledge required for pyramid construction wasn't limited to geometry and measurement. The logistics of organizing thousands of workers, coordinating material deliveries, and scheduling construction activities required mathematical skills in arithmetic, proportion, and what we would now call operations research. The papyrus documents from pyramid construction projects show that the Egyptians could perform complex calculations involving large numbers, fractions, and proportional relationships. The Egyptians' mathematical achievements in pyramid construction influenced their broader mathematical development. The practical problems of pyramid building drove innovations in calculation techniques, geometric methods, and numerical systems that would benefit Egyptian civilization for thousands of years. The mathematical knowledge developed for pyramid construction was later applied to other engineering projects, astronomical observations, and administrative tasks. The precision of pyramid construction also required innovations in measuring instruments and techniques. The Egyptians developed remarkably accurate tools for measuring length, angle, and level that allowed them to achieve precision that rivals modern construction. Their measuring rods were calibrated with extraordinary care, and their techniques for using these tools demonstrated understanding of measurement principles that wouldn't be formally codified until much later. The mathematical mastery behind pyramid construction challenges our assumptions about ancient knowledge and capabilities. These monuments demonstrate that sophisticated mathematical thinking developed much earlier than previously believed, and that practical engineering problems could drive mathematical innovation in ways that pure theoretical study could not. The legacy of Egyptian mathematical achievements in pyramid construction influenced later civilizations throughout the Mediterranean world. Greek mathematicians acknowledged their debt to Egyptian geometric knowledge, and many fundamental mathematical concepts can be traced back to practical techniques developed for pyramid construction. Understanding the mathematical precision of pyramid construction helps us appreciate that these monuments represent more than just impressive engineering. They demonstrate humanity's capacity for abstract thinking, precise calculation, and the application of mathematical principles to solve complex practical problems. The pyramid builders proved that mathematical knowledge could be a powerful tool for achieving seemingly impossible goals. The mathematical mastery behind the pyramids also reveals something profound about human intelligence and creativity. The ancient Egyptians didn't just stumble upon mathematical relationships, they actively sought them out, understanding that mathematical precision was essential to creating monuments that would last forever. Their achievement reminds us that the pursuit of mathematical knowledge is one of humanity's most noble and enduring endeavors. In the past few decades, revolutionary technologies have allowed archaeologists and engineers to peer inside the pyramids without damaging these ancient monuments, revealing secrets that have been hidden for over 4,000 years. These discoveries are rewriting our understanding of pyramid construction and uncovering evidence of engineering sophistication that surpasses even our most optimistic estimates of ancient Egyptian capabilities. The breakthrough began in the 1960s with the development of cosmic ray-muon tomography, a technique that uses naturally occurring subatomic particles called muons to create images of the internal structure of large objects. When Nobel Prize-winning physicist Luis Alvarez first applied this technique to the Pyramid of Khafre in 1968, he was hoping to discover hidden chambers. While that particular expedition didn't find new rooms, it proved that non-invasive techniques could reveal the internal structure of pyramids without causing any damage. The real revolution came in 2017 when an international team of scientists using advanced muon tomography made a stunning discovery inside the Great Pyramid. They found a previously unknown void, dubbed the Big Void, located above the Grand Gallery. This chamber is at least 30 meters long and has the same cross-section as the Grand Gallery itself. The discovery of this void, the first major internal discovery in the Great Pyramid since the 19th century, has opened up entirely new questions about the pyramid's internal structure and construction techniques. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed another layer of secrets hidden beneath the pyramids. Recent surveys have detected what appear to be additional chambers and passages that were never completed or were deliberately sealed. These discoveries suggest that the internal structure of the pyramids is far more complex than previously imagined, with networks of chambers and passages that may have served purposes we don't yet understand. 3D laser scanning technology has allowed researchers to map the pyramids with unprecedented precision, revealing construction details that were invisible to earlier investigators. These scans have shown that the pyramid blocks were fitted together with tolerances that are almost impossible to achieve even with modern tools. The precision of the stonework suggests that the ancient Egyptians had developed techniques for cutting and fitting stone that we still don't fully understand. Thermal imaging has revealed another fascinating aspect of pyramid construction. The pyramids show distinct thermal patterns that suggest the presence of internal air currents and possibly unknown chambers. These thermal anomalies have led to new theories about how the pyramids were designed to regulate internal temperature and humidity, possibly to preserve the pharaoh's burial goods and mummy. Recent excavations around the pyramids have uncovered evidence of construction techniques that were far more sophisticated than previously imagined. Archaeologists have found remains of internal ramps built into the structure of the pyramids themselves. These ramps, which spiral up inside the pyramid walls, would have allowed workers to transport blocks to the upper levels without building enormous external ramps that would have required as much material as the pyramids themselves. The discovery of these internal ramps has solved one of the greatest mysteries of pyramid construction: how the builders could transport massive blocks to the upper levels of the pyramid without leaving any trace of the ramps they must have used. The internal ramp theory, first proposed by French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin and now supported by physical evidence, represents a breakthrough in our understanding of pyramid construction techniques. Chemical analysis of pyramid stones has revealed sophisticated understanding of material science. The Egyptians didn't just use any limestone, they carefully selected stones with specific properties for different parts of the pyramid. The core blocks were chosen for their structural strength, while the casing stones were selected for their ability to be polished to a mirror-like finish. This selective use of materials demonstrates knowledge of stone properties that was far ahead of its time. Recent analysis of the mortar used between pyramid blocks has revealed another surprise. This mortar is actually stronger than the limestone blocks themselves and has remained intact for over 4,000 years. The composition of this mortar includes ingredients that shouldn't have been available to the ancient Egyptians according to conventional understanding, suggesting that their knowledge of chemistry and materials was more advanced than previously believed. Microscopic analysis of tool marks on pyramid stones has provided new insights into construction techniques. These marks reveal that the Egyptians used a variety of cutting techniques, including some that produced finishes so smooth they appear to have been machine-made. The precision of these cuts suggests that the ancient Egyptians had developed stoneworking techniques that were lost for thousands of years. Satellite imagery and aerial photography have revealed the full extent of the infrastructure that supported pyramid construction. These images show evidence of harbors, canals, and road networks that connected the pyramids to quarries and the Nile River. The scale of this infrastructure demonstrates that pyramid construction required transforming the entire landscape around the building sites. Recent underwater archaeology in the Mediterranean has uncovered evidence of the international trade networks that supplied materials for pyramid construction. Shipwrecks containing Egyptian artifacts and raw materials show that the pyramid builders had access to resources from across the ancient world, including copper from Cyprus, gold from Nubia, and cedar wood from Lebanon. Digital reconstruction techniques have allowed researchers to virtually rebuild the pyramids as they would have appeared when first completed. These reconstructions show that the pyramids were originally covered in smooth, white limestone casing stones that would have made them shine like beacons in the desert sun. The visual impact of these completed pyramids would have been far more dramatic than the step structures we see today. Advanced computer modeling has also allowed researchers to test theories about pyramid construction techniques. These simulations have shown that the methods proposed by archaeologists could indeed have built the pyramids within the known timeframes, but only with levels of organization and efficiency that were truly extraordinary. The models reveal that pyramid construction required logistical coordination that rivals modern industrial operations. DNA analysis of mummies and skeletal remains found near the pyramids has provided insights into the people who built these monuments. The genetic evidence confirms that the pyramid builders were native Egyptians, not foreign slaves or mysterious lost civilizations. The DNA also reveals information about their diet, health, and family relationships, painting a picture of a well-organized society that took care of its workers. Isotope analysis of bones and teeth has revealed where the pyramid workers came from. The chemical signatures in their remains show that workers came from all over Egypt to participate in pyramid construction, confirming that these were national projects that united the entire kingdom. Some workers even came from as far away as the Levant and Nubia, suggesting that pyramid construction attracted skilled craftsmen from across the ancient world. Recent discoveries in the workers' village at Giza have revealed the sophisticated medical care provided to pyramid builders. Archaeologists have found evidence of surgical procedures, including the setting of broken bones and even primitive brain surgery. The quality of medical care suggests that injured workers were valuable enough to justify significant investment in their recovery. New analysis of pyramid texts, the religious inscriptions found in later pyramids, has revealed that these monuments were far more than just tombs. The texts describe the pyramids as machines for transformation, designed to facilitate the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife. This religious purpose influenced every aspect of pyramid design, from their astronomical orientation to their internal chamber systems. Recent excavations have also uncovered evidence of the sophisticated planning that went into pyramid construction. Archaeologists have found what appear to be scale models and architectural drawings that show the pyramids were designed in detail before construction began. These planning documents demonstrate that the ancient Egyptians approached pyramid construction with the same systematic methodology used in modern engineering projects. The discovery of ancient papyrus documents has provided unprecedented insights into the administration of pyramid construction. These documents, written by the workers themselves, describe the daily operations of pyramid building in remarkable detail. They reveal sophisticated systems for tracking materials, managing workers, and coordinating the complex logistics of construction. Advanced dating techniques have refined our understanding of pyramid construction timelines. New radiocarbon dates suggest that some pyramids were built more quickly than previously thought, while others took longer than expected. This variation in construction time reflects the learning curve as Egyptian engineers refined their techniques and the changing political and economic conditions that affected pyramid building. Recent analysis of pyramid acoustics has revealed that these monuments were designed with sophisticated understanding of sound properties. The internal chambers create acoustic effects that may have been used in religious ceremonies. Some researchers suggest that the pyramids were designed as resonating chambers that could amplify chants and prayers, adding another dimension to their religious function. Geological analysis of pyramid sites has revealed that the ancient Egyptians chose their locations with remarkable geological insight. The pyramid sites are positioned on the most stable bedrock available, and the builders took advantage of natural geological features to support their massive structures. This geological knowledge was crucial to the pyramid's long-term stability. New discoveries continue to emerge as technology advances. Recent ground-penetrating radar surveys have detected what may be additional chambers in the Great Pyramid, while infrared thermography has revealed thermal anomalies that suggest unknown voids or passages. Each new discovery adds to our understanding of these remarkable monuments and the civilization that created them. The application of artificial intelligence and machine learning to pyramid research is opening up new possibilities for discovery. AI systems can analyze vast amounts of data from multiple sources: satellite images, ground-penetrating radar, thermal imaging, and archaeological records to identify patterns and anomalies that human researchers might miss. These technologies are accelerating the pace of discovery and revealing new aspects of pyramid construction. Perhaps most importantly, these new discoveries are revealing that the ancient Egyptians were far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. Every new technology we apply to studying the pyramids reveals additional layers of complexity and ingenuity. The more we learn about these monuments, the more impressive the achievements of their builders become. The secrets hidden in stone continue to emerge as our technology advances. Each new discovery not only answers old questions, but raises new ones, ensuring that the pyramids will continue to fascinate and challenge us for generations to come. The monuments that have stood for over 4,000 years still have secrets to reveal, reminding us that human achievement has no limits when intelligence, determination, and vision combine to pursue the impossible. While the Great Pyramid of Giza captures most of our attention, it represents just one moment in a pyramid building tradition that spanned over 1,000 years and produced more than 100 pyramids across Egypt. The story of pyramid evolution reveals a fascinating journey of architectural experimentation, engineering innovation, and changing religious beliefs that transformed these monuments from simple burial mounds into the most sophisticated structures of the ancient world. The pyramid tradition began long before the famous monuments at Giza, with roots stretching back to the earliest dynasties of ancient Egypt. The first royal tombs were simple mastabas, rectangular structures with sloping sides that barely rose above the desert floor. But even these early monuments showed signs of the ambition that would eventually produce the pyramids. They were built with increasing size and complexity, incorporating multiple chambers and elaborate decoration that hinted at the grandeur to come. The revolutionary leap came with Pharaoh Djoser and his architect Imhotep around 2670 BCE. Their step pyramid at Saqqara wasn't just larger than previous tombs, it was conceptually different. By stacking 6 mastabas of decreasing size on top of each other, they created the world's first monumental stone building. This pyramid rose 204 feet into the sky, visible from miles away and announcing to the world that Egypt had entered a new age of architectural achievement. But Imhotep's step pyramid was just the beginning of a period of intense experimentation. Subsequent pharaohs pushed the boundaries of pyramid design, each trying to surpass their predecessors while solving the technical challenges that arose with each new innovation. The transition from step to smooth-sided pyramids required solving entirely new structural problems and developing new construction techniques. The first attempts at smooth-sided pyramids were not entirely successful, but they provided crucial learning experiences. The Pyramid of Medum, begun by Pharaoh Huni and completed by Sneferu, started as a step pyramid but was later converted to a smooth-sided design. The conversion was not entirely successful. The outer layers collapsed, probably during construction, leaving the stepped core exposed. This failure taught Egyptian architects important lessons about structural stability and the need for proper foundation design. Pharaoh Sneferu, undeterred by the problems at Medum, commissioned another pyramid at Dashur. This monument, known as the Bent Pyramid, shows clear evidence of mid-construction design changes. The pyramid begins with a steep angle of 54 degrees, but changes to a shallower, 43-degree angle about halfway up. This change was probably made when the architects realized that the original angle would create structural problems. The Bent Pyramid represents a crucial learning experience that informed all subsequent pyramid construction. Sneferu's third pyramid, the Red Pyramid at Dashur, incorporated the lessons learned from his previous projects. Built with the shallower 43-degree angle from bottom to top, it became the first successful smooth-sided pyramid. This monument proved that the technical problems of pyramid construction could be solved and set the stage for the even greater achievements that would follow. The culmination of this experimental period came with the Great Pyramid of Khufu at Giza. This monument represented the absolute peak of pyramid construction, incorporating all the lessons learned from previous projects while pushing the boundaries of what was technically possible. The Great Pyramid's internal chamber system was far more complex than any previous pyramid, featuring multiple chambers, a grand gallery with a corbelled ceiling, and precision-cut granite elements that showcased the pinnacle of ancient Egyptian stoneworking skills. The pyramids of Khafre and Menkaure, also at Giza, continued this tradition of innovation while adapting to changing circumstances. Khafre's pyramid appears larger than Khufu's because it's built on higher ground, but it's actually slightly smaller, a clever optical illusion that maximized visual impact while reducing construction costs. Menkaure's pyramid is much smaller than its neighbors, reflecting the changing economic and political conditions of the late 4th dynasty. After the Giza pyramids, pyramid construction continued, but with significant changes in approach and scale. The 5th dynasty pharaohs built smaller pyramids, but invested heavily in elaborate mortuary temples and causeway decorations. These monuments showed that pyramid building was evolving from pure architectural achievement toward more complex religious and artistic expression. The 6th dynasty marked the beginning of a new phase in pyramid development with the introduction of pyramid texts, religious inscriptions carved into the walls of the burial chambers. These texts, which represent some of the oldest religious literature in the world, transformed pyramids from silent monuments into speaking testimonies of royal power and divine connection. The Middle Kingdom saw a revival of pyramid building after the chaos of the first intermediate period. The 12th dynasty pharaohs built pyramids that were smaller than their Old Kingdom predecessors, but incorporated new innovations in construction and design. These pyramids used mud brick cores with stone casings, representing a more economical approach to pyramid construction that still achieved impressive visual results. The pyramid builders of the Middle Kingdom also experimented with new locations and orientations. Some pyramids were built in the Fayum region, taking advantage of different geological conditions and proximity to new population centers. These experiments showed that pyramid building could adapt to changing political and economic circumstances while maintaining its essential character. The new kingdom largely abandoned pyramid building for royal tombs, preferring the hidden rock-cut tombs of the Valley of the Kings. However, pyramid building continued in Nubia, where the Kushite rulers built steep-sided pyramids that drew inspiration from their Egyptian predecessors while developing their own distinctive style. These Nubian pyramids show that the pyramid tradition could spread beyond Egypt's borders and adapt to new cultural contexts. The evolution of pyramid building techniques reveals a sophisticated process of experimentation and refinement that spans centuries. Each generation of builders learned from their predecessors' successes and failures, gradually developing more efficient construction methods and more sophisticated architectural designs. This process of continuous improvement demonstrates that pyramid building was not a static tradition, but a dynamic field of innovation. The changing scale and style of pyramids also reflects the evolving nature of Egyptian kingship and religious beliefs. The massive pyramids of the 4th dynasty represent the peak of pharaonic power, when kings could command the entire resources of the state for their personal monuments. Later, smaller pyramids reflect more modest royal resources, but also changing ideas about the afterlife and the role of the pharaoh. The regional variations in pyramid design show how local conditions influenced construction techniques. Pyramids built in different parts of Egypt use different types of stone, adapted to different geological conditions, and incorporated local architectural traditions. This regional diversity demonstrates that pyramid building was not a monolithic tradition, but a flexible approach that could adapt to varying circumstances. The international influence of Egyptian pyramid building can be seen in monuments built throughout the ancient world. From the ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the pyramids of Mesoamerica, the Egyptian model inspired monumental architecture across different civilizations. While these monuments served different purposes and used different techniques, they all drew inspiration from the Egyptian achievement in creating massive stone monuments that reached toward the heavens. The decline of pyramid building in Egypt was gradual rather than sudden, reflecting changing political, economic, and religious conditions. The enormous resources required for pyramid construction became increasingly difficult to sustain as Egypt faced internal conflicts and external pressures. The tradition gradually gave way to other forms of royal burial and monumental architecture, but its influence continued to shape Egyptian culture for thousands of years. Understanding the full scope of pyramid building helps us appreciate that the famous monuments at Giza represent just one moment in a much larger story of human achievement and innovation. The pyramid builders were not just following ancient traditions. They were constantly experimenting, learning, and pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Their legacy extends far beyond the monuments themselves to include the techniques, knowledge, and inspiration that continue to influence architecture and engineering today. As we reach the end of our journey through the mysteries of pyramid construction, we find ourselves confronting a truth that is both humbling and inspiring. The greatest wonders of the ancient world were built not by aliens, lost civilizations, or supernatural forces, but by human beings whose intelligence, determination, and collaborative spirit enabled them to achieve the impossible. The story we've uncovered reveals that the pyramids represent far more than impressive piles of stone. They are testimonies to humanity's capacity for vision, innovation, and organized effort on an unprecedented scale. They prove that our ancestors were not primitive people struggling with basic survival, but sophisticated thinkers capable of conceiving and executing projects that challenge our understanding even today. The pyramid builders solved problems that would challenge modern engineers. They developed mathematical concepts that wouldn't be formally recognized for thousands of years. They created organizational systems that coordinated the efforts of tens of thousands of workers across decades of construction. They innovated construction techniques that enabled them to move and position massive stone blocks with precision that rivals modern machinery. Perhaps most remarkably, they did all of this while creating monuments of breathtaking beauty and spiritual significance. The pyramids weren't just engineering achievements, they were artistic masterpieces that embodied the ancient Egyptians' deepest beliefs about life, death, and the nature of divine kingship. They successfully merged practical necessity with aesthetic vision, creating structures that satisfy both the engineer's demand for functionality and the artist's need for beauty. The workforce that built these monuments challenges our assumptions about ancient labor and social organization. These weren't slaves driven by whips and fear, but skilled professionals who took pride in their work and were well compensated for their efforts. They were organized into efficient teams with clear hierarchies and specialized roles. They were fed nutritious diets, provided with medical care, and housed in well-planned communities that supported their work and well-being. The tools and techniques used in pyramid construction demonstrate that sophisticated engineering doesn't always require complex machinery. The pyramid builders proved that simple tools, when used with skill and intelligence, could accomplish seemingly impossible tasks. Their copper chisels and sand abrasives, wooden levers and rope pulleys, measuring rods and plumb lines were perfectly adapted to their purposes and employed with extraordinary expertise. The logistics of pyramid construction reveal organizational capabilities that wouldn't be seen again for thousands of years. The coordination of quarrying operations, transportation networks, and construction activities required planning and management skills that rival modern industrial operations. The pyramid builders created supply chains that stretched across Egypt and beyond, bringing together materials and expertise from throughout the ancient world. The mathematical precision of the pyramids shows that ancient peoples were capable of abstract thinking and sophisticated calculation. The geometric relationships encoded in pyramid dimensions, the astronomical alignments of their passages, and the structural engineering of their internal chambers all demonstrate mathematical knowledge that was far ahead of its time. The pyramid builders were not just following traditional practices, they were pushing the boundaries of mathematical understanding. Recent discoveries continue to reveal new aspects of pyramid construction that challenge our understanding of ancient capabilities. Advanced imaging technologies, chemical analysis, and archaeological excavations are uncovering evidence of techniques and knowledge that we're still trying to understand. Each new discovery makes the achievements of the pyramid builders seem even more remarkable. The evolution of pyramid building over more than 1,000 years shows that these monuments were not the products of a single burst of inspiration, but the result of continuous experimentation and refinement. Each generation of builders learned from their predecessors, gradually developing more sophisticated techniques and more ambitious designs. The pyramid tradition represents one of humanity's longest-running research and development programs. The international influence of pyramid building demonstrates that great achievements inspire others to attempt their own impossible dreams. The Egyptian pyramids influenced monumental architecture throughout the ancient world, showing that human achievement is contagious. When people see that something extraordinary is possible, they are inspired to attempt extraordinary things themselves. The religious and spiritual significance of the pyramids reminds us that the greatest human achievements often spring from our deepest beliefs and highest aspirations. The pyramid builders weren't just constructing tombs, they were creating pathways to eternity, machines for transformation that would carry their pharaohs from earthly kingship to divine immortality. Their work was motivated by faith, hope, and the human desire to create something that will outlast our brief time on Earth. The legacy of pyramid construction extends far beyond the monuments themselves. The techniques developed for pyramid building influenced Egyptian architecture for thousands of years. The organizational methods created for managing massive construction projects contributed to Egypt's administrative sophistication. The mathematical and engineering knowledge gained from pyramid construction advanced human understanding in ways that benefited civilization for millennia. But perhaps the most important legacy of the pyramid builders is the proof they provide of human potential. They show us that when people work together toward a common goal, when they combine intelligence with determination, when they refuse to accept that something is impossible, they can achieve things that seem to defy the laws of nature itself. In our own time, when we face challenges that seem insurmountable, climate change, poverty, disease, conflict, the example of the pyramid builders offers both inspiration and guidance. They remind us that the greatest problems can be solved through human intelligence, cooperation, and persistence. They prove that no challenge is too great when people unite their efforts and refuse to give up. The pyramid builders also remind us that the pursuit of excellence is one of humanity's most noble endeavors. They didn't build their monuments just to be functional, they built them to be perfect. They understood that creating something beautiful and lasting was worth any amount of effort and sacrifice. Their example challenges us to bring the same dedication to excellence to our own work and our own dreams. The truth about pyramid construction is more amazing than any alien theory, more inspiring than any supernatural explanation, and more relevant than any tale of lost technology. It's a story about what human beings can accomplish when they dare to dream big, when they're willing to work hard, and when they refuse to accept limitations on what's possible. The pyramids stand today, after more than 4,000 years, as eternal testimonies to human achievement. They remind us that we are the descendants of people who moved mountains, who turned dreams into stone reality, who proved that the impossible is just another word for something that hasn't been accomplished yet. As we face our own impossible challenges, as we dream our own impossible dreams, we can draw inspiration from those ancient builders who looked at the empty desert and saw the potential for monuments that would touch the sky. They remind us that the greatest limitations are often the ones we place on ourselves, and that the greatest achievements come to those who dare to attempt the impossible. The pyramids were built by human hands, guided by human intelligence, and motivated by human dreams. They stand as proof that we are capable of far more than we often dare to imagine. In a world that sometimes seems dominated by division and despair, they remind us of what we can accomplish when we work together toward something greater than ourselves. The mystery of pyramid construction has been solved, but the wonder remains. We now know how these monuments were built, but that knowledge only makes their achievement more remarkable, not less. The pyramid builders have left us more than stone monuments. They've left us an example of human potential that continues to inspire us to reach for our own impossible dreams. Their legacy lives on in every ambitious project, every collaborative effort, every moment when human beings choose to attempt something that has never been done before. The spirit that built the pyramids continues to drive human achievement, reminding us that with sufficient vision, determination, and cooperation, there's no limit to what we can accomplish. The pyramids were built by people like us, with the same hopes and dreams, the same intelligence and creativity, the same capacity for working together toward a common goal. Their achievement reminds us that we too are capable of building monuments that will outlast our time on earth, monuments of stone, of knowledge, of compassion, of human understanding that will benefit generations yet to come. The greatest mystery of the pyramids isn't how they were built, it's why we ever doubted that human beings were capable of building them. Their true legacy is the reminder that we are all pyramid builders, all capable of achieving the impossible when we dare to try.